Breaking news out of New York. We're bringing you live coverage from outside the courtroom, where Donald Trump appeared virtually today. In a dramatic turn of events, the judge has just issued his sentence, and I'm here to provide you with the full details of this crucial development. Today, the judge sentenced Donald Trump to an unconditional discharge regarding his conviction in the hush money case. This means that Trump will face no jail time and no fines. However, the judge did leave a significant mark on Trump's record. The sentence comes with a formal guilty verdict, which will remain on his permanent record. While there's no immediate punishment, this ruling is crucial, and it places the guilt firmly on Trump's record, a result that Trump has fiercely fought to avoid. Despite a last-minute appeal to the Supreme Court in an effort to block today's sentencing, Donald Trump was unsuccessful. The Supreme Court rejected his plea, and the proceedings moved forward as planned. This marks the final chapter in the sentencing phase, which has been delayed multiple times over the course of months. But today, the judge made it clear that this was the only lawful sentence he could impose. To recap, Donald Trump has been sentenced to an unconditional discharge. There is no jail time, no fine, and no probation, but the record will reflect his conviction, marking him as a felon. It's important to note that this was likely the outcome Trump tried to avoid through all of his legal maneuvers, including his attempt to appeal to the highest court in the land. The fact that this sentence includes no jail time or fine may seem like a victory, but the stain of a guilty verdict on his record could have far-reaching implications. This is another historic moment in a case that has already seen its share of groundbreaking developments. Donald Trump is the first living president in U.S. history to be convicted in a criminal case. This marks the latest chapter in a long-running saga, and it's clear that the legal challenges Trump has faced are unprecedented. Now, let's dive into what transpired in the courtroom today. Donald Trump's appearance was highly anticipated, as this was the first time he had the opportunity to testify in this case. During the original trial back in May, Trump chose not to testify, but today, he seized the moment to make a public statement in his defense. He described the case as a terrible experience and took aim at the charges brought against him, claiming that the entire case was politically motivated and designed to prevent him from winning re-election. Trump also continued to boast about his 2024 election victory, asserting that he won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Throughout his testimony, Trump repeated the same arguments he's made for months, claiming his innocence and denying any wrongdoing. "I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong," he stated firmly. These words came as no surprise, as they reflect his long-standing defense of the charges against him. As Trump made these claims, District Attorney Alvin Bragg was present in the courtroom, sitting in the second row and observing the proceedings. At one point, Trump directly addressed Bragg, accusing him of not wanting to bring this case in the first place. This was a direct confrontation between Trump and Bragg, as Trump has spent much of the trial attacking the district attorney and his handling of the case. The tension was palpable, and as Trump made these comments, Bragg was seen chuckling quietly. After several minutes of defending himself and repeating familiar talking points, Trump wrapped up his testimony by once again emphasizing his election win and reiterating his belief that the justice system had been weaponized against him. He called this process lawfare, a term he has used previously to describe the legal challenges he's faced. Trump closed his statement by thanking the court and expressing his belief that he had been treated very, very unfairly. While Trump's words in court were expected, what stood out was the emotional weight of this moment. After all, this was the first time in this case that Trump had the chance to directly address the court, and he used it to assert his innocence once again. However, it was clear that the court was not swayed by his arguments. This sentencing marks the culmination of a lengthy and highly publicized legal battle. For months, Trump's legal team has fought to delay the proceedings, filing motions and appeals in an attempt to avoid today's sentencing. Most notably, Trump's legal team made a last-ditch effort by seeking emergency relief from the Supreme Court. But in a narrow 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court rejected the appeal, allowing the sentencing to proceed without further delay. Today, Trump's legal team faced the reality that they could not prevent this moment from happening. Outside the courtroom, as you can see from the live footage, the atmosphere is tense. There are crowds gathered, media outlets covering the event, and a sense of history unfolding. The judge's ruling today carries significant weight. While Trump's legal team may view the lack of a jail sentence or fine as a win, the conviction on Trump's record is likely to have serious political and personal consequences. Now, let's bring in our correspondent, Nia Torfi, who has just come out of the courtroom. Nia, can you describe the atmosphere during the sentencing? What was the mood like inside the courtroom? Matthew, the mood in the courtroom was one of anticipation. Judge Marin handed down the sentence that he had promised, an unconditional discharge on all 34 counts. While this means Trump will have the guilty verdict on his record, it also means he faces no punishment, no jail, no probation, and no fine. The judge explained that this was the only lawful sentence he could impose without interfering with the highest office in the land. He remarked that the circumstances of this case were unprecedented, and this was a situation the court had never encountered before. After delivering the sentence, the judge kept his remarks brief and wished Trump Godspeed as he assumes office for a second term. It was a moment that seemed to underscore the unusual nature of the case, as this ruling stands in stark contrast to the typical outcomes for those convicted of similar charges. But what really stood out today was the prosecutor's response to Trump's actions throughout the trial. Let's not forget that Trump was held in contempt of court 10 times for violating gag orders and attacking jurors, court staff, and even members of the court. Prosecutors painted a picture of Trump showing remarkable disdain for the judicial system, which they argued had a lasting negative impact beyond the courtroom. Now that the sentencing has taken place, there are questions about whether Trump will appeal. Given his history of challenging legal decisions, will this be the end of the matter? Or will he continue to fight the ruling? Despite the fact that he didn't receive any punishment, Trump is still very sensitive about the guilty verdict on his record. He fought hard to prevent this moment, appealing to the Supreme Court in an effort to delay the sentencing. Now that the sentence is on his record, Trump has already announced his intention to appeal. His legal team is expected to continue pursuing this case, as Trump does not want to carry the label of a felon, especially as he prepares for his second term in office. The appeal process could stretch on for months.